let's look at this solitaire war game called Bloody Lane. All right. This was sent to me by Vince Cooper. You see his name right there. He kindly had this forwarded to me from Amazon. And okay, I've never played a game like this. Have I played a point-to-point game? I have. I guess you could call this a point-to-point game. Do we call this a book game or a magazine game? Probably, I guess a book game would be the one that would qualify. I don't know if it even says that in the title there, but this game is, well, we know I don't play these types of things, but I was interested. He offered to ask me if I wanted to sort of preview copy of it, take a look at it. And Tony's done something with it from Tony's Board Life and Gippy Gaming. And Tony's done a good job of creating nice counters and everything. I created mine on the little cardboard backing and cut them out. I didn't double them up. I could have doubled them up, but would have made them a little thicker. And then, of course, you know me, I would have rounded the corners, but I didn't do that with this. I wanted to get to playing it. So I started going through the rules. And in the rule book, everything is laid out. I mean, in the order you're going to do it. It goes right down. I mean, this book goes right down the sequence of play. You don't have to, there's no back and forth flipping. Whatever sequence you're in, you're just going to go find that in the proper page, and you're going to see everything you need to do. Now, what this is representing. So we've got the Sunken Road or Bloody Lane in Antietam, okay? Just across the creek from the middle bridge. And you've got, I believe it's Rhodes as North Carolinians, and I don't know if it was one of the Andersons or something, or McClaws or somebody that moved in there to help towards the end. But I believe this is all Rhodes. I should have probably read that part of it. And, you know, Antietam's like 15 minutes from me. And I was just down there just recently with Wardrobe and McMurray, but I can't remember now, but I know Rhodes was in that area. And if I remember right, there was an orders confusion thing that happened that caused some of Rhodes' troops to pull out of the ditch when they shouldn't have. And I think that's what kind of threw that whole fight for a loop. But you don't necessarily have that in this game. What he has done, though, is he's created, it's 5 or 6 or 7 different tiers to play this, like an elite level, elite plus level, or regular level, easy plus level. So you know, and I've been playing the regular level, and this is the second time I played it. Now, this thing goes where the Union has very nice artillery, which they always had throughout the Civil War, and they're represented by Tompkins batteries. Sitting up here, recognize Tompkins he was in charge of the 11th Corps Artillery at Gettysburg. And then you've got Tidball. He's got some guns over here that some horse artillery stuff, where I also recognize Tidball's guns, well, at least Calip's batteries at Gettysburg on the first day up front with the cavalry, with Buford's cavalry. So they don't have to check for ammunition. The Tidball's batteries cannot get destroyed. I'm assuming probably because they're just out of range. But none of them run out of ammunition. They can be damaged, and you look at the artillery units as if they were like 2 steps. So they start off with 2 steps. If they take damage, they become 1, and if they lose the last one, they're eliminated in artillery. You don't replace artillery in this game. And if you'll notice by looking at my map here that the Confederates, all 3 batteries are destroyed. Now it took, what was it, 6? I think it was 7 turns. And you can see that Tompkins, he has to roll a 2 to a 5 to destroy these guys, and you're rolling 2d6. So not quite a 50% chance, but they took all 3 batteries out. Each 3 batteries is like, you know, you take them from, like I say, from 2 steps to 1 step. So it's like think of it as like having 2 guns and then 1 gun and then no guns. Okay. But they're gone. All right. So what does that do? Now the artillery, since they can't shoot at the troops because of line of sight, and I believe he was abstracted in the fire for the game so that you didn't just completely smoke the infantry. Plus, you've got Union troops that are trying to make their way up to this, and cannons firing into the Sunken Road here with their Union troops right in front of them, which they're actually come up on a little rise and then drop into the ditch. So I'm assuming that's what he's doing to account for that. He did email me that, explain to me how the artillery worked and its location and distance and stuff like that. So you've got 5 regiments of Confederates in the Sunken Road, and you've got 4 waves of Union troops. The first 2 are 3 regiments apiece, and then I believe the last 2 waves 3 and 4, which you see we're on now, are 4 regiments apiece. Good old West Virginia boys there, all right? You'll notice, though, there are no cohesion markers, and that's how you account for your strengths in this game. There's no cohesion markers on any of these units, okay? So if you look at these Union troops, now these guys are better than the first two waves. All the first two waves had a 2 cohesion. All right, these 3 regiments here have 3, but look at all the Confederates. They start with 5, okay? Have they been dropped? Sure they have, but they get an Inspire action where they can try to recover cohesion. The Union, if on their events table, if they roll a Reform, they can attempt to recover cohesion. If a unit goes to a cohesion of 1, he ends up throwing a crouch, which you see the little green marker right there. He'll throw a crouch on there and he'll try to recover, and he'll keep that crouch on there until he does. And units that are behind them, they can attempt to pass through by making a cohesion check or switch places, so to speak, okay? So how does the game go? Well, the game starts with supply. And in supply, which is pretty much the Confederates only, they have orders, okay? They have ammunition, which they only have 3. They're not unlimited. They have 3 ammunition markers, or is it 4? They have 4. No, they have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, they have 5. And then they have reinforcements. Reinforcements, they only have 3. Now, reinforcements and ammo, once they're used, they're done. You don't get no more. But you have orders markers, which are unlimited. And orders markers will help the Confederates with cohesion rolls. It'll, depending on, and, having officers up here, right now they're down to 3 officers. They had 4, but they're down to 3 now. So that sort of limits the amount of rolls you can get. So the game goes, you start with your supply phase. You're going to drop whatever order you want as Confederates on the first one you drop, they're going to drop them in the S1 box. And then each turn as supply phase goes, they're going to move down the thing until they get to S3, and then they get dropped off and they get resolved. Ammunition and reinforcement, you're going to use them immediately. The orders markers there, which I haven't really had to use a lot because the cohesion with the Rebs being at 5s, they really haven't needed anything. And when the Yanks get in here at point blank range, the Rebs are getting a +1 when you're firing at them, and you're rolling against your cohesion, all right, with a +1. So needless to say, they get a lot of hits on the Union, okay? And when they fire, they're going to roll against their cohesion. Where's it at here? 1, let's see. Oh, come on, Jeff. Where's it? Fire. Cohesion check, range, smoke, crouch, boost, -1. Okay, yeah, so they'll roll against cohesion and then against their cohesion. If they're successful, depending on what the distance is, as marked on here on the left side, those are modifiers. So when the Yanks are way out here, that 5, he becomes a 3. If there happens to be any smoke on the battlefield or anything like that, that thing now will become a 2. It'll go down 1 more. So, but when you're starting with 5, they get a lot of hits on the Yanks. So now, so the game begins with a Confederate artillery phase, which we don't have any. These guys will shoot at Tompkins and Tompkins guns only, and they have to roll a 2 to 4. There's 2 guns when you start each section, so each little battery here is going to fire roll 2d6, and on a 2 to 4, which, as you can see, they didn't hit nothing up here through 7 turns. So you're going to 2 rolls here, 2 rolls here, 2 rolls here, and it's the same for the Yanks: 2 rolls, 2 rolls, 2 rolls. But then Tidball, he gets 3 rolls, but he can only hit on a 2 to 3. So when you're rolling 2d6, that's snake eyes or a 2 and a 1. And amazingly enough, Tompkins' battery just devastated. And I believe Tidball actually hit twice too. They devastated artillery. Now, 2 things could happen. If Confederate artillery shoots in the Confederate artillery phase, then the Union artillery can only shoot at the Confederate artillery. If the Confederate artillery chooses to hold fire and not shoot, or there is no artillery, then these cannons can start shooting at the supply line back here. And they got to start with the S3 box because that's one's going to resolve. And you'll notice on the counters, i.e., you have 3 columns at the bottom. Might not be able to see them too good, but you got a 2, then you got a 2-3 or 2 to 3, then you have 2 to 4. So when they're in the S1 box to hit them, you got to roll a 2. So that's snake eyes. A 2 to a 3 when they're in the S2 box, and then a 2 to 4 when they're in the S3 box. And once they come out of it, if they survive and they come out to resolve, then you can't hit them anymore, but then the ammunition's done. So, where was he? I think he was here. Yeah, he was here. All right, so if the artillery is shooting at supply line, they got to start with the S3 box. All right, if that gets eliminated, then you go to the next box, S2. If that gets eliminated or there's nothing there, then you can go to the S1 box. All right, So for the rest of this game, these guns are going to be shooting at this ammo, and I have not dropped a reinforcement marker yet for the Confederates because, well, you can see they don't need them. All right, and the guns can't put fire on the troops. How do they affect the troops is by killing orders, killing ammo, killing reinforcements. All right. So once you go through the Confederate artillery phase, you do the Union artillery phase. Then you come to the Union event phase. And he's got this nice little chart here. All right. This kid, he's got this thing laid out perfectly. And in the first 5 turns, you'll be using the A column here. And what you do is you're going to roll 4 times, 4 dice. You're going to total them up. You're going to find the number. You're going to put, so on the first turn here, the first dice we rolled was a 15. We got a reform action. All right. Now, what is a reform action? Well, if you've got a Union unit that is down on his cohesion, he's taking a hit, you can roll to get one of his cohesion steps back, okay? So, for instance, if this guy here had a cohesion of 2, we'll say, he was hit by musket fire, and they get a reform action, every one of these units would do a cohesion check. Now, these guys, it wouldn't do any good because they're at max cohesion. But he could roll, and if he passes this, if he rolls less than the cohesion, he's going to get that taken off of there, and he's going to be back to his full level right here. So you can think of cohesion kind of like their strength too, all right? But what you do on this chart is you're going to roll 4 times, and you're going to choose the event. If you roll 15 once and then you roll 15 again, what you do is you go to the next, down the chart, you go to the next one that's unoccupied, and you'll put a 1 in there for the first turn. And then after 4 rolls, you're going to have 4 number 1s in some of these, in 4 of these boxes here. And then when you go to the second turn, you're going to stay on the same chart for the first 5 game turns, and you're going to roll 4 more times using the same process. If it's occupied, you move down to the next available one, and you put a number 2. And when you've done it 4 times, then on the next turn, it'll be 3, then on the next turn, it'll be 4, and the next turn will be 5, and then you'll be done with that one, and you'll move over to the 6 to 10 turn, and then you'll be using the B column, okay? Pretty simple. And the explanation for each of these things is right here, all right? And there's also, let's see, you've got reform. My God, I was just looking at this a minute ago. You've got reload. Oh, well, this is for the Confederates. Where is the reform thing? I was just looking at this thing. Oh, reform. For all Union unit counters, do a cohesion check. If they're successful, they get a +1 cohesion up to their max, okay? So, very simple flow for the chart. And then you go right down the sequence play. Right after the Union does an event, they do their actions phase, which the units are going to move or they're going to volley fire. Okay, if you're if you're up here in the deployment zone, your first thing is automatically going to be a move. All right, they can't even shoot from up here, but the Confederates can shoot at them. And when you got 5 cohesion, shooting at only a -2, you still have a chance to hit them. All right, but if you're behind the deployment line and you get the movement, the action phase comes up, their first thing is going to be they're going to have to move down 1. Now, sometimes you can't because you got a unit in front of you. Just a minute ago, we did over there. So this guy wouldn't be able to move on him. So if he can't move, he's going to have to just do a hold action and wait. All right. But they'll keep advancing each turn with the Union actions phase. They might stop to shoot, or they might move until they close on the Confederates up here. All right. Now, I have had in the first 2 waves, I did get 2 units that were able to close, but they were cohesion 1. And, you know, trying to go to the reform and stuff, didn't matter. The Confederates with these 5 cohesions over here, they dusted them off. Now, that's 2 out of 6. The other 4 didn't even close. They were eliminated before they even got there, okay? So I'm thinking to myself, man, this is, on regular level, the Confederates are going to smoke them. Not so fast, because we've already used 1 ammunition chit. We've got 1 getting ready to pop, and I think we got a couple more. And you get to, when this thing passes the resolve, when you resolve it after it comes off the supply on S3, you've got 3 points that you can assign here. And here's your ammunition levels. They start at 4. That's the highest you can go. Problem is now there's no guns over here. So every one of those cannons are going to be shooting at him. All right. Which actually, he's going to process this turn, so he won't have to worry about it. So in the supply phase, it starts turn. So I'm going to issue out 3 ammo points. You know, I'm sure I'm going to put 1 here because these guys, I might even put 2 here. And maybe I put 1 here, or I put 1 here. Confederates do have the ability, which we'll get to in a second, where they can fire obliquely across the line there. All right, so then you go through your action phase. If a unit is down here and he draws a move, you're going to work into a charge into the sunken road. you have to shatter a unit. If a unit is shattered in a unit and then a Union unit moves in there, the game is over immediately. If a Union force, one of these Union regiments takes one of these squares right here, the Union automatically wins the game, because I guess what happens is the Confederate line starts to unravel, the Union starts pushing more reinforcements in there, and match over at the sunken lane, at the sunken road there. So, all right, Union action phase, then you go to, you've got some, with your Confederates, when they fire, you have an option where you can choose exposed fire, where you'll drop one of these chips on the guy that's shooting, and he's going to get a +1, all right, to hit and everything. But what happens is, what it's telling you is this: these guys are wanting to really get a good shot on these guys, so they're probably standing up over top of the rails, along the fence that was along the bloody lane, maybe showing their body a little bit more to get a good shot at the troops that are approaching. But that's going to stay on there, and then if they get shot at, it's going to be a +1 for these guys over here. Okay, so that's your up and your down of being exposed. Let's see. That's the simple part of this stuff. You've got the markers for everything. You've also got a smoke marker, which if you draw smoke on one of these, you're going to get smoke 1, and it'll stay there till the end of the turn, which will come off. Which you have 4 smoke counters, but I'm only seeing, well, there's 2, so you could potentially get 2 in one turn staying on there. So, which would be a -2. I don't see the potential because you remove them in the end turn phase. And I only see 2 under each. Maybe some of the other levels of play, you can get more on there. I'm going to have to look. So I think I want to play this on one of the elites to see how tough that is. Because you're actually playing the Confederates. The sort of the bot or the game sheet is playing the Yanks, okay? The options on your events table for the Union. You might roll heavy fire, you might roll light fire, you might roll reform, you might roll smoke, you might roll skirmish. Skirmish is you roll a dice. If it's a 1, you're going to kill one of the Confederate leaders, and you're going to reduce that chart there. Haven't had to use the officer thing yet, okay? Light fire is going to be a die. You're going to roll to pick a target, which your target list will be right here. You're going to roll a dice. It'll tell you which of the Confederate regiments you're shooting at. Then you're going to roll a second dice if it's light fire. If you roll a 1, you're going to cause a cohesion loss. If you roll a 1 or 2 on heavy fire, you're going to call a cohesion loss on that, okay? Light barrage, heavy barrage, have not seen that. Have not used that. I'm going to have to look that one up. It's part of the Union events, okay? All right, so anyhow, you do that. Then you go to Confederate action phase. All right, well, you would go to Union deployment phase in the blue boxes here. You would redeploy the next wave, and you have a chart that tells you how they're going to deploy, in what row or what column they're going to deploy, depending on what number you roll, okay? And what wave it is you're looking at. And he's got, 6 options on how they could potentially deploy. Looks like some of them repeat themselves, though, so. Okay. Then you work your way to the Confederate action phase. And what you're going to do with the Confederate action phase is you're going to roll 4 dice, okay? You're going to take the 4 dice, and then you got a chart right here with the die roll number, tells you what options you have. And then what you do is you'll pick the units, like let's say I rolled a 2. One of these was a 2. All right, well, that's a fire. I can choose exposed or oblique. All right, it says fire, choose exposed or oblique. Oh. So that doesn't seem to be an option. And then we got, it's the same thing. So I need to choose the exposed or oblique. Oh, I wonder if that's optional, because I may just use it. I just want to shoot straight forward. But then you've got the bottom one is just choose fire. So that looks like you got to roll 6 just to shoot straight fire. I might check that in the rules again, because I was using it as I could either fire, or I could do exposed fire or oblique fire. So I need to, that may be one of the reasons. I may need to check that out. But you're going to pick one of the events. Maybe you place that dice on here for this guy to shoot or something like that. And so he rolls a 2, so I'm going to fire. So I can either choose exposed or oblique, or I can do a reload or a quick reload. Well, if this guy shot the last turn, after he shoots, you're going to turn him sideways. When their phase comes back up again, he can't shoot. He's got to reload first. So you're going to have to use, for this guy here, if I chose 2, I'd have to do a reload. So what I would do is I would reload him. I would take this off, and I would reduce his ammo now down to 1. All right. And he still can't shoot because he had to reload. Now I had the option to do a quick reload. So a quick reload, there's a penalty, but I can spin him around, remove him, and then he can fire. But I think it's a -1. Let's see, quick reload. Yeah, it's a -1 mini ball, resolve the fire. Okay. Oh yeah. So you're gonna lose. You must be losing an extra round or something like that. But you gotta. I think what it is, you gotta pass a cohesion check, and if you pass a cohesion check, you reload, lose your ammo, and you can shoot. All right. But if he fails, well, guess what? Doesn't work. He doesn't get, yeah, because it does. It says quick reload cohesion check. So if you do roll for the cohesion check and he fails it, he's not doing anything. All right. So these guys here, they can shoot. Like I say, you shoot, you spin them. When the next turn comes around, you need to be able to reload with him. So you got to get a dice to do a reload. But like I say, you're going to roll 4 dice and you're going to pick the numbers and you're going to figure out what you want to do with these units. Now you can double up on some of these. So, and it doesn't matter what the event is. So let's say I wanted to choose fire with this guy here, and I didn't really have anything else I wanted to do, fire-wise with anybody else. So maybe I take the 3 that I rolled, or let's say I rolled another 2. Maybe I take that 2 and I apply it to him to give him a better chance of shooting. So I believe it's when you add one like that, he's going to get another +1 to his cohesion. Okay. So if let's say I have a guy that has a cohesion he's lost 1 cohesion. All right. Which actually he would be 4, not 1. And let's do that properly. Let's do that properly. So we're going to drop the 4 on here. All right. And let's say one of my rolls is a 3. All right. And that's an inspire. Well, I can drop that inspire on this guy, and then I can attempt to recover his cohesion by doing a cohesion check, rolling a dice. If I'm equal to or less than, this guy would he would come back to his full cohesion level. So not only do the Confederates have reinforcements that can bring them back up, but they can also use an inspire action to recover cohesion. And like I say, you cannot recover cohesion past their maximum, which is their starting number on their counter. And then you just keep, the process is the same. You go through the end of turn phase, which has a few steps, and then you go to the next box on the turn chart and you start again. Everything is on this chart. Everything you need to play this game is right here on this chart. All right, all the effects, everything you do, who you shoot at, how you shoot, what the Confederates can do, what cohesion checks for fire, exposed fire, and oblique fire. Rally to the colors is an in-turn thing for shattered units, and I believe it's for the Confederates only, where you can attempt to recover a unit that's shattered. Because if he's shattered, that means he's lost all his cohesion, and all the Union got to do is walk in there pretty much. But you can attempt to recover those guys. All right, you can't do it for the Union. Once a Union guy loses his cohesion down to 0, he's off the map and he's done. Which, like I say, the first 2 waves have already been destroyed, and they're sitting over there in my dead pile up yonder. But hey, could you play this, I think, in an hour? I think you could. I think you could roll right through it once you're comfortable with the flow of the system. It's actually kind of fun. I emailed Vince. I thought, you put a lot of depth into this, but I think the best thing about it is the rule book, the way the way this thing is rolled out. Like I say, you're not going to be flipping back and forth through pages. You're just going to go right down the pages in sequence, going through your sequence of play, and everything for that step is in that section of the book, and you just go from front to back. All right. Like I said, I want to try an elite level to see what's different. I'm going to assume that the events are different. Maybe the fire charts, the Union event charts of resolving stuff is a little different. Maybe because it's an elite level, you're playing the Confederates. Maybe they hit stronger. I don't know. I haven't looked at one of the elite chart yet, but I'm going to print one off. And like I say, all the stuff you can print, all the counters, the map, all the sheets, all the different sheets, you can get those off of BGG. But the rule book, that's from Amazon. I mean, come on, that's I think it's $15 for this thing. Believe me, it's well worth it. Yeah, okay, the book doesn't look fancy. It's got a picture of the game. I know Vince is still, just from chatting with him through email, that he's still got some things going on with this. But I don't think there's anything in here really that needs to be modified. I think he's got this thing down pretty good. And I'm not going to spill the beans where he's going to go with this, but he'll do that himself one day. Hey, maybe we can drag him on and talk with him about this stuff one night or something. But hey, a game type that Hexy doesn't play, I don't play it. But I set this up. This is the second time I've played it now. I played regular both times, and it's actually quite fun. This is one of the things that I think of it, yeah, you could still probably do it. It's not a whole lot. There's a few counters in the mix. But I honestly think this could be a lunchtime game, maybe 2 days, 2 lunches. If you're taking 30 minutes for lunch, or maybe 3 days, you can probably play the whole fight. You know, it's 20 turns, but let me tell you something. Last night I sat here and played 5 turns. Tonight I played 5 more, and I don't think it took me 40 minutes to do that. So it rolls pretty smooth. And the poor Yanks, with their cohesion level so low, it's kind of tough on them with this one here. So that's why I think I want to see what one of the elite, the levels above regular are. But look, you can get this thing on Amazon. I know the guys found a link for it on Amazon the other day. Like I say, I think it's like just maybe over $15. And if you've got Amazon, you know, if you're a Prime member, you're going to get delivery for free. So take a look at it. It's worth it. It's, believe me, this is worth the $15. Like I said, I'm sure he's got other stuff in the makes. I'm pretty positive he does. And give this thing a go. I'm actually having a little fun with it. So it's a change of pace from what I'm normally playing, and I quite enjoyed it. All right, so there you go. Bloody Lane, Solitaire Wargame by Vince Cooper. You can get it on Amazon. I'm not sure where else you can get it, but if you got it, got a couple dollars out there, go get you one, give it a whirl, give it a run through. I think a lot of you might find that this is something you might play 5, 6, 7, or 20 times. All right, we'll talk to y'all later.